The story of what Project Magnet uncovered is a major part of this just-released tome edited by publisher Tim Beckley. The book also includes updated revelations by contemporary researcher Grant Cameron, presidentialufo.com, as well as a bonus history of humanoid and creature sightings and close encounters throughout Canada by the late amateur astronomer John Musgrave, who worked while on a grant from Ottawa's government. Perhaps the most exciting part of this book is the disclosure that Wilbur Smith was a UFO contactee himself and was in touch with others on a regular basis who claimed to have received communications from off-Earth dwellers. Moving beyond simple physical reality. It is important, in the light of where his studies would eventually take Smith, to establish his credibility as a pragmatic scientist approaching the UFO subject in the utmost of real-world terms. Smith explains, if we are to rely on sightings data alone, we are bound to get a rather one-sided idea of these creatures. For example, we see saucers traveling at terrific speeds and then suddenly stop or change direction. Under our concepts of physics, no creature of flesh, blood, and bone could withstand the terrific forces which would be associated with such actions. Therefore we are led to assume that the saucerians must be some manner of robot or a creature the like of which we have never encountered. He also points out that, in spite of their unknowably high level of technological achievement, the UFO occupants have never simply landed and announced that they were taking over the Earth. This is perhaps because they regard us as in the same general category as the other flora and fauna native to this planet and believe our civilization is so primitive as to be indistinguishable from that of the lower animals and insects. But such speculations don't necessarily lead us to the truth, according to Smith. Fortunately, the UFO occupants have made contact with certain Earthlings deemed to be capable of receiving the information and passing it along to others. Along with the many sightings reports, Smith began collecting and analyzing claims of contact with the aliens and to assemble what he felt were the mores and ethics of the people from the flying saucers. It adds up to a complete and elegant philosophy, Smith wrote. These people tell us of a magnificent cosmic plan, of which we are a part, which transcends the lifetime of a single person or a nation or a civilization or even a planet or solar system. We are not merely told that there is something beyond our immediate experience, we are told what it is, why it is, and our relation thereto. Many of our most vexing problems are solved with a few words, at least we are told of the solutions if we have the understanding and fortitude to apply them. We are told of the inadequacies of our science, he continued, and we have been given the basic grounding for a new science which is at once simpler and yet more embracing than the mathematical monstrosity which we have conjured up. We have been told of a way of life which is utopian beyond our dreams and the means of attaining it. Can it be that such a consistent, magnificent philosophy is the figment of the imaginations of a number of misguided morons? I do not think so. If such is the case and all of this is known, the reasonable person asks, then why has it not been publicized? Why aren't we studying the sciences gifted to us by the aliens instead of atom bombs? The answer, Smith tells us, is that it has been publicized. Books have been written and thousands of copies sold. There are many periodicals available containing this knowledge, which may be had for a nominal sum. Reports have been prepared by serious investigators and presented through the proper channels. The flying saucers and their ability to change reality. But it is truly said, Smith acknowledged, that one can lead a horse to water but one cannot make him drink. There are probably as many private reasons for not facing up to the facts as there are people who refuse to do so. However, it is consoling to realize that, through the humble and often criticized comic strip and science fiction stories, the younger generation is being conditioned to accept the reality of people from elsewhere, and when given the opportunity to do so avidly assimilate all they can get on flying saucers and the people who fly them. One is struck by the overwhelming transformative power the study of UFOs and their occupants often has on people. Smith's interest in flying saucers began as a mild case of curiosity and over a few years became something like a religious fervor. In a portion of Smith's writing collected in Project Magnet, entitled The Battle for Man's Mind, he feels called upon to warn his readers about a grave danger we are all facing, either consciously or unconsciously. Two great forces are striving to gain control of man's mind, a struggle that has been going on from time immemorial. But never in the world's history, he wrote, has the conflict been more intense than it is in this present era of confusion and unrest. In the old days, mankind was often made to suffer physically, unspeakable things in the name of power. But today, with man's mind more developed and better educated, he is now facing the prospect of a refinement of even greater mental and spiritual cruelty unless he is prepared to protect himself with right thinking. Smith describes one of the two great forces as positive, leading us to thoughts of harmony and the concept of the love of God and the brotherhood of man. The other force is negative, encompassing the Antichrist philosophy and serving a mad lust for power. The battle takes place on both the physical and metaphysical fronts, with the object being the spiritual salvation of mankind or our utter destruction. Good, evil, and our stage of evolution. Man's brain, Smith teaches, operates on the metaphysical plane like a two-way radio, transmitting and receiving messages along the airwaves of the universe. This is a very apt metaphor, when one considers that Smith was a government expert on radio broadcasting. Man's brain is open to both good and bad input, which he either accepts or rejects according to his stage of evolution. Messages received through esoteric sources, purporting to come from the Space Brothers, who take an active interest in our spiritual welfare, warn us that an even greater conflict is being fought on the metaphysical plane. The lower or negative forces that damned themselves by wrong thinking are projecting strong thoughts earthward in an attempt to bring about our spiritual downfall. On the other hand, the Space Brothers are concentrating equally hard on sending out positive thoughts of goodwill and brotherly love. Thus we are being bombarded from the metaphysical plane by two conflicting schools of thought, Smith wrote. And free will being the criterion of spiritual advancement, it is left to us which we choose to accept. However, from a purely logical point of view, if we want to save ourselves a lot of sorrow both in this life and lives to come, we should arm ourselves mentally against the onslaught of negative thoughts. It is no time for confused or apathetic thinking, which can lead to the exact forms of negativity Smith is warning us against.